The air thickens with the acrid bite of smoke, stinging your eyes as flames devour the once proud walls. Screams pierce the chaos, high-pitched wails of terror blending with the guttural roars of invaders on horseback. Hooves thunder like an endless storm, kicking up dust that mixes with the metallic tang of blood. You glimpse shadows darting through the streets, women clutching children, their tunics torn, faces streaked with ash and fear. A matron collapses, her arms outstretched toward a fleeing girl, but rough hands seize them both, dragging them into the horde. The city that stood as a beacon of Roman might crumbles under the onslaught, its towers toppling like felled giants. Bodies litter the ground, some still twitching, others eerily still. The invaders laugh, their voices a savage chorus as they claim their prizes amid the ruins. But this is only the beginning. The worst unfolds in the hidden corners, where pleas go unanswered and the night stretches into endless horror. What you're about to hear involves systematic violence against women, including rape and enslavement. These events are documented in ancient chronicles but remain profoundly disturbing. If you need to step away, I understand. For those staying, we focus on understanding the system behind it all, not exploiting the suffering. This wasn't random barbarism. This was a calculated machine of conquest, designed to break spirits and extract submission. In the fading light of the Roman Empire, a nomadic king turned fear into an empire of his own. The year was 452, and the Western Roman Empire teetered on collapse, its legions stretched thin, its emperors weak. Valentinian III ruled from Ravenna, more puppet than power, while the real threats came from beyond the Alps. Attila, king of the Huns, had already ravaged the east, demanding tribute in gold and lives. Now, he turned west, not for land, but for dominance. His invasion of Italy wasn't about settlement, it was erasure, a message etched in fire and blood. What mattered then was the survival of Rome's legacy. What echoes now is how one man's ambition could unleash such calculated terror on the innocent. Historians debate the exact scale, but the system he built turned thousands of women into symbols of conquest. This story reveals the machinery, the incentives for his warriors, the strategic sieges, the psychological warfare that left cities hollow. Picture the vast steppes of Central Asia, where nomadic tribes roamed under endless skies, herding horses and honing bows from childhood. The Huns emerged from this world, a confederation of warriors bound by survival and plunder. They weren't one people, but many Turkic, Mongolian, Germanic, united by necessity. By the early 400s, they pressed against Rome's borders, drawn by the empire's wealth like moths to flame. Their society was a meritocracy of might. Leaders rose through raids, not birthright. Into this entered Attila, born around 406, son of Munzuk, a minor chieftain. As a boy, he learned the saddle before he walked, his world one of constant motion. But fate twisted early. In 418, as part of a treaty, young Attila was sent as hostage to the Roman court in Ravenna. There, amid marble halls and scheming senators, he absorbed the empire's ways, its bureaucracy, its intelligence networks, its vulnerabilities. He saw Rome not as invincible, but as a bloated giant ripe for the taking. Released years later, he returned hardened, his mind a blend of steppe ferocity and Roman cunning. Back among the Huns, Attila shared power with his brother Bleda, their uncle Ruga's heirs. They ruled from wooden palaces on the Hungarian plain, commanding a vast network of vassal tribes, Ostrogoths, Alans, Gepids. Tribute flowed in gold from Constantinople, slaves from raids, but ambition simmered. In 445, during a hunt, Bleda met a mysterious end, an arrow finding his back. Whispers said Attila orchestrated it, eliminating the rival to consolidate control. Now sole king, he transformed the Huns into a precision instrument. His army, perhaps 100,000 strong, moved like lightning on horseback, their composite bows outranging Roman spears. He employed spies, diplomats, even Roman defectors to map weaknesses. Psychological warfare was key. Tales of Hun savagery preceded them, softening resistance. But Attila wasn't born cruel. He was forged by a world where mercy meant weakness. A formative raid in his youth, where a rival tribe slaughtered his kin, taught him survival's price. Another moment, negotiating with Eastern Emperor Theodosius, who tried to poison him. Betrayed, Attila retaliated with invasions that extracted millions in gold. These scars crystallized his resolve. By 450, he eyed the west, where a single message ignited the spark. It came from within Rome itself. Honoria, sister to Emperor Valentinian, chafed under her brother's control. Betrothed against her will, she sent a ring and plea to Attila, begging rescue. He saw opportunity, the ring as betrothal, claiming half the empire as dowry. When Valentinian refused, Attila had his pretext. That spring, he mobilized, crossing the Alps into northern Italy. The path led to Aquileia, the gateway city, its walls a testament to Roman engineering. What happened next would alarm an entire empire. The sun beat down on Aquileia's ramparts that sweltering summer, the air heavy with the scent of salt from the nearby Adriatic. The city buzzed like a hive, merchants haggling over amber jewels, soldiers patrolling the forums, families gathering for evening meals. Aquileia was no backwater. It was a metropolis of 100,000 souls, its mint-churning coins, its basilicas echoing with Christian prayers, towers soared, gates reinforced with iron, a moat fed by the Natiso River. The garrison, bolstered by General Aetius's reinforcements, stood ready, their shields gleaming. They knew the Huns were coming. Scouts reported dust clouds on the horizon, like a storm brewing, but they believed in Rome's walls. As Attila's horde encircled the city, the first arrows whistled over, embedding in timber. Catapults hurled stones, cracking stonework. Weeks dragged on, the siege a grinding test. Inside, rations dwindled, wells ran low. Whispers of surrender circulated, but the commanders held firm. Among the defenders was Digna, a noble matron in her 30s, widow of a merchant whose ships once sailed to Constantinople. She lived in a villa near the river, its mosaics depicting serene gods. Digna wasn't a warrior. She tended her household, raised her 2 daughters, attended church where the bishop preached resilience. Before the siege, life was routine market visits, weaving wool, sharing gossip with neighbors. She dreamed of her girls marrying well, perhaps to officials in Ravenna. Now, as the walls shook, she gathered them close, praying to saints for deliverance. Food grew scarce. They shared stale bread, watered wine. Rumors filtered in. The Huns spared no one, their camps ringing with captives' cries. Digna's resolve hardened. She wouldn't let her family fall to that fate. She taught her daughters hymns, told stories of Roman heroines like Lucretia, who chose death over dishonor. Tension built as breaches appeared in the walls. Attila, frustrated, nearly withdrew until he spotted storks fleeing the city, nests abandoned. An omen, he declared to his warriors. The city falls. Renewed assaults battered the gates. One dawn, they broke through. The confrontation erupted in fury. Hun riders poured in, swords flashing, torches igniting roofs. Defenders fought street by street, but numbers overwhelmed. Digna heard the din from her tower, the clash of metal, the screams rising like a tide. She barred her door, but boots pounded upstairs. Her daughters clung to her, eyes wide. The demand came, surrender or die. Digna refused, spitting defiance. "Rome endures," she cried. But the invaders smashed in, seizing the girls. In that moment, Digna acted. She broke free, racing to the window, overlooking the Natiso. With a final glance at her children, she leapt, her tunic billowing like wings. The river claimed her, preserving her honor from the filthiest of foes. The act unfolded swiftly, but its shadow lingered. The Huns, unchecked, turned the city to ruin. Flames consumed homes, temples toppled, the mint's gold looted. Chronicles speak of wholesale slaughter, but implication weighs heavier. Women dragged to camps, their fates sealed in the night. This wasn't about Digna alone. This was about a system Attila's warriors rewarded with captives, incentivizing brutality. Spoils divided by rank, enslavement a currency. Historians estimate thousands perished or were taken. Though numbers vary, the machine ground on, turning resistance into example. A modern parallel? Think of how empires today use terror to control populations, breaking wills through targeted horror. But that wasn't the worst part. The invasion had only begun. Shift now to the view from the saddle, one of Attila's lieutenants riding the wave of victory. The king himself directed from a wooden throne amid the chaos, his squat frame commanding, eyes like coals. Attila wasn't the monster of legends, short, broad-chested. with a sparse beard, but his presence bent men to will. After Aquileia, the horde swept south, a locust swarm devouring Venetia. Concordia fell next, its walls no match. Then Altinum, its markets emptied, Patavium razed, its scholars scattered. Each sack followed pattern, encircle, demand, surrender, plunder if resisted. But escalation came in scale. No longer one city, whole regions emptied, villages torched, fields trampled, refugees fleeing to marshes. The system revealed itself. Scouts ahead mapping routes, vassal tribes handling flanks, captives interrogated for intelligence. Incentives drove it, warriors kept shares of loot, women as prizes fueling loyalty. From a witness's eyes, imagine a bishop from the eastern provinces fleeing Aquileia only to watch the horror spread. He saw Milan yield its gates, avoiding total ruin but not the shame. Huns quartered in palaces, their revels echoing through nights, women hidden in cellars, but many found, their cries muffled by the horde's din. Not all died. Some enslaved, marched north as concubines or laborers. The bishop noted irony. Amid destruction, a quiet moment in Milan's imperial hall. Attila, spotting a painting of Roman emperors triumphant over barbarians, ordered it reversed. Now Huns on thrones, Romans pouring gold at their feet, a dark contrast, beauty amid horror, the city's mosaics untouched while lives shattered. This spread, the terror news traveled faster than armies, cities surrendering preemptively. Brescia, Bergamo, Verona, all opened, sparing structures but not people. Estimates whisper of tens of thousands affected, women bearing the brunt as symbols of conquest. A breather here. One Hun warrior, weary from the march, paused by a stream, washing blood from his hands, gazing at Italy's rolling hills. For a flicker, peace intruded, but the machine churned on. She had 3 days left in her home. She didn't know it yet. The climax built as the horde neared the Po, the air growing thicker with summer heat and disease. Time slowed, each hoofbeat echoing doom. Attila's army, bloated with captives, pushed toward Rome, the eternal city trembling. Sensory overload, the stink of unwashed bodies, the wail of enslaved women chained in wagons, the glint of looted gold under sun. Peak horror loomed not in one act, but scale. Whole provinces depopulated, families torn. Chronicles imply the unspeakable. Matrons and virgins targeted to humiliate Rome, their violation a weapon. Historians debate numbers. Some say nearly 50,000 women suffered, though evidence suggests thousands. The figure inflated by terror's echo, but the system cracked. Overreach showed, famine gripped the invaders, crops failed the prior year, supplies dwindled. Disease ravaged ranks, dysentery, fever. Eastern Roman forces massed on the Danube, threatening homes. Resistance flickered. Refugees in lagoons organized. Aetius harassed flanks. The breaking point came near the Mincio River. Pope Leo, a bishop of unyielding faith, led an embassy gray-haired, robed in white, his voice steady amid fear. No warrior, Leo represented Rome's spiritual core, his presence a shield. Attila met him, flanked by warriors, but something shifted. Accounts vary. Divine vision of apostles with swords, or pragmatic calculus, plague, starvation, promised tribute. Leo's words pierced, conquer thyself. Attila relented, withdrawing with Honoria's claim unmet, but peace bought. The overreach mattered, Huns weakened, retreat a victory for resistance. What broke? Not the victims entirely, but the machine's momentum. Transition to aftermath. Italy scarred, but enduring. Attila returned across the Alps, his horde laden but diminished. He died the next year, 453. On his wedding night, nosebleed or poison, rumors swirled. His sons quarreled, the empire fracturing at Nidau in 454, vassals rebelling. Survivors in Italy rebuilt. Refugees founded lagoon settlements, birthing Venice from ashes. Power shifted, Western Rome fell in 476, but the church rose, Leo's legacy bolstering papal authority. Long-term, migrations reshaped Europe, Hunnic tactics influencing future wars. One ironic detail: documents meant to condemn Attila preserved his legend, turning scourge into symbol. Archaeology unearths the truth. In Aquileia, excavations since the 1800s reveal destruction layers, charred beams, shattered pottery from 452. A team in the 20th century found the forum's ruins, mosaics buried under rubble. Recent digs uncovered a 6th century basilica, built atop the devastation, proving resilience. Who found it? Modern scholars, like those from the Austrian Academy, using ground-penetrating radar to map hidden walls. Tangible, coins, stamped with Valentinian's face, arrowheads from Hun bows. These prove the sack's reality, humanizing the horror, a child's toy amid debris, a woman's brooch bent in flight. Why it matters. This teaches power's fragility, how systems of terror collapse under their weight. A modern parallel grounded, not preachy. Think of how invasions today displace women and children, echoing ancient patterns. The universal truth, resistance, even quiet, outlasts empires. Human nature bends but rebounds, turning ruins into rebirth. Echo the opening. The smoke cleared, ruins smoldered, but life stirred in the marshes. What changed? A city vanished, but a republic rose on water. The victims were meant to disappear, but they didn't. Their stories survive in stone, in chronicles, in the lagoons that became Venice. Digna, Honoria, the unnamed thousands, their endurance whispers through time. And now, they're here with you, because you chose to listen. If this moved you, share in the comments. What echoes of Attila do you see today? Subscribe for more histories that refuse to fade. In the end, conquest fades, but memory conquers all.